Hey guys, welcome to today's video. We're going to be going over the Carolina Panthers and their offense and what it's going to look like next season. Before we get started though, please drop a quick like and a sub on today's video. That would really help my channel grow. I'd really appreciate that. With that said, let's dive right into the video and I hope you enjoy. So we're going to be going over the Panthers offense next season. We're going to start by talking about what they did last year. You look at their leaders. Teddy Bridgewater, no longer with the team. Mike Davis, no longer with the team, obviously with Christian McCaffrey out. But, DJ Moore is still with the team. Led the team in receiving yards with just shy of 1,200 receiving yards. Really big year for him in 2020. But let's look at where they stood compared to the rest of the league in the offensive categories. And we look at total offense first. If this computer wants to load, does this computer want to load? No. Let's look at total offense first. So total offense per game here. Carolina Panthers were towards the bottom of the league, 24th in the NFL in offense per game. But then when we look at, that's just points for, right? That's just points per game, pretty much. Passing offense wise, they were a little bit better than that, 18th in the league. Remember, were able to throw the football pretty effectively because of, Robby Anderson and DJ Moore. But running the football was not exactly their strong suit, 21st in the NFL in that regard. So you can see this wasn't a really good offense, and especially, with the injuries to Christian McCaffrey and the pretty bad quarterback play from Teddy Bridgewater, there wasn't really any consistency on this offense, and it just wasn't good. It's really that simple. Let's start by talking about the quarterback situation. So, obviously, Bridgewater didn't seem to be the answer last year, so they went out and took a chance on Sam Darnold, which is really interesting. Do I think Darnold is a good quarterback? Absolutely not. As a Dolphins fan, I've seen him struggle for the past few years with the New York Jets, and although I've seen him, play well at times, I don't think that he is a legit franchise quarterback. I don't think he's a legit guy that you can put in, is going to put up 25 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, lead you to a playoff berth. I don't think that's what you're getting in Sam Darnold. I think Darnold will throw for like 3,300 yards and like 18 touchdowns and 12 interceptions. I don't think he's a good quarterback in the NFL. So that concerns me. You can see those stats. Those stats talk for themselves. And sure, yep, he was injured last year for parts of the year. Joe Flacco had to come in at times. But Darnold for me just is not what he was hyped up to be, coming out of college. He hasn't really shown that potential. He has at times, but it just hasn't been consistent. It's been spotty. And although he has better, weapons here in Carolina, he's played with Robby Anderson before. We know that can be successful. I just don't think Darnold will end up having that much success next season. That concerns me. And, as that starting quarterback, I just don't think Darnold is really that guy. Christian McCaffrey at running back, though, is going to be fantastic because that's what Christian McCaffrey is. Last year, sure, he only had 225 rushing yards for 5 rushing touchdowns. But remember, he only played in like 2 or 3 games last year, was barely on the field whatsoever. But, the year before, he had 2,000 total scrimmage yards. You remember, as a pass catcher and as a runner, he is arguably the best pass catching running back in the entire league. Really good running the football too. He had a ton of touchdowns 2 years ago. But remember, this guy is a dual threat running back. He's an every down runner. He's a complete running back, and he's arguably the best running back in the entire league. What he's able to do with his size, his speed, his strength, it's really just, can he stay on the football field? When he's on the football field, there is no better player on the football field than McCaffrey, and he can single-handedly take over a game. He's the guy you give the ball to 25 times a game and really just allow for the offense to flow through him. If Darnold wants to find success, it's got to go through McCaffrey. This offense has to go through Christian McCaffrey. Joe Brady has to understand that, yeah, McCaffrey needs to be in the center of that offense, but he also needs to be able to be on the field week in and week out. So there's definitely a sort of balance there. It's how much do you utilize McCaffrey, but you're going to need him too. So there's that injury concern. There is with every player, but McCaffrey is just such an influential player, and there have been injury concerns in the past where McCaffrey, is that's what this offense runs through. The offense runs through Christian McCaffrey, and at the end of the day, if he's able to stay on the field, this offense will be a lot better than without him on the field. And although, Mike Davis did do a good job last year without McCaffrey, McCaffrey is just another breed. He's another type of player, and he's an elite NFL running back. He's better than Saquon Barkley. He's better than Ezekiel Elliott. He's better than Dalvin Cook. He's got the ability, like Derrick Henry, to take over a football game. So watch out for that next season from the Carolina Panthers and their run game. And talking about their run game too, they don't have Mike Davis anymore, but that doesn't really concern me too much. They did draft Chubba Hubbard in the later rounds to add some depth at running back. But let's talk about their wide receivers. And I really like their wide receivers a lot. They brought in Terrance Marshall in the draft. He obviously has some history with Joe Brady, working at LSU with him. But overall, It's the Robby Anderson and DJ Moore show, and both of these guys are capable of 1,000 yards. I want to start with Robby Anderson. He had 95 catches, 10th in the league last year, 1,096 receiving yards and 3 receiving touchdowns. He is a burner. He stretches the field, and he's such a dynamic and versatile threat. You can line him up on the outside. You can line him up in the slot. He's had success with Sam Darnold before. We've seen that success before in New York. He was Darnold's favorite weapon as a member of the Jets a few seasons ago. And Anderson, what he does is he uses his speed to spread defenses out, to really take the top off a defense and explode. So I really like what he brings to the table. And although this Panthers offense does not have Curtis Samuel anymore, they don't have that gadget type player anymore. What Anderson's able to do with his speed, might allow for Joe Brady to utilize screenplays and utilize jet sweeps, maybe even with Robby Anderson. I think that that's definitely a part of his game that he could take on. Just because of that speed and that versatility and that athleticism he possesses. But him and Darnold have a good connection, so I'm not concerned about the Robby Anderson to Sam Darnold connection. And likewise, DJ Moore is another really solid receiver. He was absolutely phenomenal last year, 66 catches, just shy of 1,200 yards and 4 receiving touchdowns, 18.1 average yards per reception. You can see that stat there. He's a guy who can take the top off a defense too. He can definitely has that speed, definitely that route running ability, definitely that strong playmaking presence for this Panthers team. And him and Anderson really pair well together because their mix of speed, their mix of route running, and their mix of explosiveness really pair well for this Panthers offense. For Sam Darnold, though, I think that a guy like DJ Moore can do a lot just because of what he's able to do with his route running, creating space and separation. And that's really what Darnold struggled with, as a member of the Jets. He didn't have any receivers that could really create separation. Anderson and DJ Moore can definitely create separation. And then you've got David Moore, too. Don't forget about David Moore, who they brought over this offseason via Seattle in free agency. David Moore was absolutely fantastic as that wide receiver number 3 for Russell Wilson, is a guy who could be really good deep downfield. All 3 of those starting receivers are burners. They're guys who can spread the field out, make plays deep downfield. Anderson and DJ Moore much more with their route running and speed. And then David Moore much more with his footwork and speed too. But he's a red zone threat. He had a lot of touchdowns for Seattle over the past few years. So I like those receivers, but I love Terrance Marshall Jr. too. He's a versatile threat. You can line him up on the outside. You can put him in the slot. He can run those underneath routes. He has good speed, good size, good vision, good strength. He's an all-around receiver, and he's that complete receiver picked up in the second round. He was one of those receivers that wasn't really talked about because he was playing next to Justin Jefferson. He was playing next to Jamar Chase. He wasn't seeing as many receptions, as many targets, but he was open and he was working on those underneath routes and even on those deeper routes too. He was a really productive player at LSU. Once again, working in Joe Brady's system, he knows Joe Brady's system, and I think that Joe Brady, with his ability to use mobility, play action plays, to use motion too, those things really fit Terrance Marshall's game because he can find the soft spots in defenses and really execute from there. Tight ends wise, these tight ends are not where it's at. They did try to improve the tight end group this offseason by bringing in Dan Arnold from Arizona. That, I don't really know how much that does. Ian Thomas was not good. He has not been good for this Panthers offense. He's fine as a blocker, but as a pass catcher, he's not great. He's not going to put up big numbers whatsoever. Dan Arnold can put up 400 receiving yards. And I guess you've got the Sam Darnold to Dan Arnold connection, that the Darnolds, as Baskin likes to say. Shout out to Baskin right there for that one. Dan Arnold, he can put up 400 receiving yards, 3 touchdowns. I think those are capable numbers for him. But, at the end of the day, if you look down these tight ends, Dan Arnold isn't great. Ian Thomas isn't great. Tommy Tremble picked up in the draft. We haven't really seen him, but I don't love the tight end group. But I really do like the receivers. I like Robby Anderson a lot. Like DJ Moore. I like Terrance Marshall Jr. I think those give Sam Darnold a lot of weapons. If Sam Darnold can't succeed in Carolina, I really think there's no hope for him because the amount of weapons. You have the best running back in the NFL in Christian McCaffrey. You've got 2 1,000-yard receivers in Robby Anderson and DJ Moore. You've got some depth at receiver behind him, and you've got a capable tight end in Dan Arnold. I don't really think that's a great tight end group, but offensive line wise, Cam Erving picked up from the Cowboys, I think, this offseason. Cam Erving is not a good left tackle. That does concern me a lot, playing for Sam Darnold's blind side. But if you look up and down this Carolina Panthers offensive line, it's something that needs to be improved. Obviously, Taylor Moton is awesome at right tackle, has been one of the better right tackles quietly in the league for the past few years now. But, you look at John Miller, you look at Paradis at center. Those guys are, they're below average starters. Pat Elflein, another below average starter, played for the Jets, played for the Vikings, really struggled in those locations. He signed a multi-year contract, I think $12 million total money, I think over 3 or 4 years. He's not great. I just think that this is a below average offensive line that's really going to hamper any potential growth that Sam Darnold could have. But at the end of the day, if Sam Darnold doesn't succeed, it's because of this offense. It's because he just isn't good. I mean, this offense has really good talent. It really does. It has great weapons, great wide receivers, an elite running back, and a great offensive coordinator in Joe Brady that can really get the most out of his players by utilizing their speed, utilizing their versatility, and utilizing their playmaking abilities. That's what we saw him do last year for the Panthers. It's what we saw him do last year at LSU. I mean, 2 years ago at LSU. It's really just, how good is this offensive line? I really don't like Cam Erving. He's actually terrible at football. John Miller, Matt Paradis. I mean, they're all capable starters. They're liability. I mean, they're not liabilities. They're just bad. Like they're not good. They're not going to get you anything. They're below average replacement starters. So I don't love the offensive line. I really like Taylor Moton a lot, but I don't really see this offensive line really being a top 25 offensive line in the league. It's definitely going to be a bottom 6-ish offensive line next year. And then, they do have the weapons, but I just don't think that Darnold is the quarterback to lead them forward. So I think that this offense overall will be top 20 just because of the pure talent that they have at the skill positions. But at the end of the day, I don't think they're going to find too much success because of a poor offensive line. And at the end of the day, I just don't think Darnold is good enough to lead a team really anywhere. So with that said, I think the Panthers offense will have some spurts of really good success just because of the coaching and just because of the pure talent at running back and wide receiver. But the lack of talent at offensive line and quarterback is really going to let them down. And with that said, that's pretty much going to end the video for today. Did you agree with my analysis? Why or why not? Leave your comments and thoughts in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. Also, if you're new around here, please drop a like and a sub on today's video. I'd really appreciate that. And with that said, I hope you enjoyed the video. And until next time, see ya.